Alright, yo, what's up guys? It's me, Shadow, back again with another tutorial video. This week we're going over how to make internet money YEAT type beats inspired by his most recent single, No Handouts, or, any other of the more like emotional, melodic YEAT songs, The direction of this beat is going to be way more melodic than like a typical YEAT type beat, like I just said. So if you're looking for like a harder YEAT type beat tutorial, I'll like link up at the top corner, like some of my other YEAT tutorials because I have covered different styles of the YEAT type beat before. But like I said, this one is going to be a lot more in the like emotional direction. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. And without further ado, let's just hop right into the video. Starting off, guys, we're going to set the BPM to 130. It's like a pretty basic BPM. It's literally like the starter BPM when you open FL Studio because I don't know really, but that's what it is. For these kind of beats, you want to go anywhere between like 130 to 145. Like 145 is probably going to be the cap for like some more emotional, like slower type beats. And you can still go over 145 if you want, but that's just like my recommendation. As for drums, these are what we're going to be using. Really simple stuff. Almost all of this can be found in my Twizy stash kit. I will leave that link down below, as well as any other kits that I use in this video. As for sound selection, guys, we are using Serum, obviously, because that's going to be the go-to plugin for these YEAT type beats. If you can't afford Serum or you just don't have it, you guys can get Vital. It's probably the best free alternative to Serum. It is literally just Serum, but free, that's it. There's no catch or anything. It's probably just as good as Serum. But anyways, the kit that we're going to be using primarily within Serum is my Vanquish Serum Bank. I will leave that link down below. There's a free demo as well as the full kit available for purchase. The first preset that we're going to be using is the Puke Synth. As you can hear, it has this really cool, kind of like gross background sound, and it sort of like builds up over and over again. Then we have the Uppity lead. This one might kind of sound weird on its own, but when you put it into a beat, it sounds really good. That sort of like chopping noise adds for some really nice rhythm. Then we have the slide lead, again from my Vanquish Serum Bank. I just made some like adjustments to it, and it's going to sound like this. Basically, it's just a sine lead. There's really no catch or anything, just a lot of reverb on a sine lead. And then lastly, we have the water lead. As you can hear, I put a bunch of reverb on it. Wait. I put a bunch of delay on it. That's what I meant to say. There's a delay on it that I added outside of Serum. And yeah, that's going to do it for the sound selection, guys. Now that we have that out of the way, let's hop right into how I made this beat, starting off with the melody. Before I go over each individual pattern, guys, I just want to say a big shout out to Zekish. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce his name, and if it's not, I'm sorry. As you can see, take a good look right here. I used his MIDI for this beat, so I took it and I flipped it into this tutorial video. This is what the original MIDI is going to sound like. So yeah, big shout out to Zekish. Like I said, his MIDI, so I'm not taking all the credit for this video. And with that being said, now we can actually hop into how I made each individual pattern. So starting off, guys, we're basically going to take like the main chords of that progression. We're going to take all of the top end and counter melodies and stuff. We're going to remove that, and we're going to use the same preset that I showed you when I was previewing the MIDI, the Puke preset. And this is what the chord progression is going to sound like. Essentially, guys, what we're doing is we're employing like basic YEAT theory. I'm just going to start calling it YEAT theory in my videos instead of music theory because like all of the YEAT type beats follow very similar formulas where essentially all of your chords are either going to have spaces of 6 or 4, and then from that point you can kind of do your own variations. As you can see, the constant between all of these melodies is spaces of 6, or I guess 7 semitones apart. Right here, G4 to C4, there is a gap of 6, D sharp 4 to G sharp 4, gap of 6, and then from there it's just like throwing little variations on here, like we're using an A sharp 4, which is 3 semitones apart, or a gap of 2. Typically for a YEAT type beat, you would do 5th chords, which is like a space of 4 and then a space of 6. But, for this beat, we're going to kind of vary it up. We're going to change stuff up. Basically, for the first chord, we're using a gap of 2. And then for the second chord, we're using a gap of 3. We're just adding notes here and there to add some more melodic vibes. Doing this is really going to create more of the emotional vibe for these beats instead of the harder vibe. Typical 5th chords sound way darker and just gritty And when you use spacings of 2 or 3 between your notes, it gets a lot more emotional. And then from there, you know, we're basically just adding like some counter melody notes. We're adding this D sharp 7 instead of an A sharp 4 in the like second half, or I guess like third quarter or whatever. I'm really bad at describing these things. I'm sorry. But yeah, you know, we're adding this D sharp 5, which is going to add some more like emotional tension or whatever you want to call it. A little bit different, you know, not the typical YEAT vibe, but hopefully just my horrible explanation and, you know, the visual of the MIDI can sort of help you guys get a general direction when you're trying to make these emotional YEAT beats. Then guys, we're going to throw a counter melody on top of the main chords. It's going to sound like this. And yeah, like I said, that weird preset that doesn't really sound too great on its own, it really does work its way into the beat super well with the rhythm and like that's it, the rhythm in the preset. Okay, this video's not starting off well. Anyways, again, kind of following the general MIDI that I was sent by Zekish, you know, it has that sort of like A sharp down to D sharp, and you know, you have some filler notes in between. It's really like pretty simple, you know. This is basically the main basis of the pattern, and then, you know, the D sharp 5, the A sharp 4, that's just layering notes that were already in like the main chord progression that we created. So the only new thing that we're really doing here is introducing these little like these things to add some variation to the beat. We're basically going to take it, we're going to paste it over, Control B, and then Control up arrow to paste it up an octave. This is a really easy thing that you can do to vary your beats up, just add some more like direction and, you know, change throughout your beat. Is if you have a pattern and you enjoy the way it sounds, paste it over, make it twice as long, and then pitch it up an octave. It won't always sound good, but in most cases it does sound pretty good, and it will really like, you know, help your beats out. So yeah guys, that is pattern number 2. Then guys, we have this little like sine lead counter melody on top of the other counter melody, and it's going to sound like this. Again, following the same principle as before, taking the melody that we created, pasting it over, and pitching it up an octave. And from there, it's basically just clicking in notes based on what we already made. Since we already have one counter melody and one chord progression, we can already see sort of the notes laid out for us, and based on that, we can just click notes in that we've already used. I say this in most of my videos, and it sounds like a cop-out of like explaining things technically, but that is really how I go about making my beats, if I'm going to be completely honest. Make a chord progression, and from that chord progression, I'll see what notes I can use and what notes I can't. From that point, I'll make a counter melody using those same notes. Maybe I'll introduce a couple new notes. After 1 or 2 melody patterns, you really have like the full like scale laid out. Being that I don't understand scales fully yet, that really helps. But yeah, that is the third counter melody, guys. And then lastly, we have that little like delay lead sound, and it's gonna sound like this. It just is what it is, you know. I don't really know how to describe this, but it's just like a super short, like delayed pluck or lead, whatever you want to call it. And then lastly, guys, we have the YEAT bell, and we're going to play it like this. Instead of following the chord progression and playing a C to G sharp to C to G sharp like over and over again, I purposely left the C out for the beginning half of the pattern, and then I basically just took it and pasted it over again. At the end, I added an A sharp 4 to kind of keep it moving a bit. Yeah, guys, you can put the bell hitting on the 1. That's like more typical for a YEAT type beat. I just kind of wanted to throw the listener's ear off a little bit, so I took the 1 bell out and kind of switched it up to just 3s and 7s. Altogether, guys, this is what our melody's going to sound like. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's very like triumphant and emotional. I definitely think you could hop on this if you kind of got in his feels, you know. Really quickly, guys, I forgot to go over this. For the main chords, we're going to take out all of the low end. This is pretty typical mixing for like any, you know, hip hop beat. You want the 808 to have some room, so we're going to cut off all of the low end. We're going to put delay on that delay lead. Obviously, that's how we created it. We're going to put it on the lowest time setting, and we're going to turn the mix down to 48%. We're also going to make the stereo. Same thing with that sine lead. We're going to make it stereo. We're going to add some reverb, just default settings. And then we're going to add a delay with the default settings. We're going to turn this down to 12%. And that's pretty much all of the mixing for the melody, guys. Basically, what you want to do is just have a solid chord progression, take all the low end out. And then, you know, for the counter melodies and stuff like that, I like to make them stereo personally. Other people like to make them mono, but I just like stereo because I like to have a very wide sound in my beat, especially for emotional beats. But yeah, that's the melody, guys. Now that we have that out of the way, we're going to hop right into how I made the drums for this beat. Starting off, we're going to lay out a clap pattern. We're going to use the no lie snare. So my apologies if you're sick of this snare, but you know, they used it in the recent YEAT song, so I had to do the same. I'm sorry. Then guys, we're going to lay out a pretty basic hi-hat pattern. If I'm going to be honest, I didn't really do anything very methodical for this pattern. As you can see, there's a lot of gaps and there's a lot of rolls, but I didn't really put them anywhere with intent. I didn't look at this spot right here and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to remove the hi-hats here. Essentially, I just added a bunch of like the YEAT horse trot hi-hats. I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with that at this point. You know, it's like in every single one of his beats at this point. But regardless, I just threw those in, you know, like every once in a while. And then I threw some like more intense chops and stuff like that. And then for the gaps and all that stuff, I really just added them wherever I felt like. And then whatever bounce it was, it was. Then guys, we're going to add a rim that's going to sound like this. Again, not very methodical with it. I kind of just placed them in where I placed them. The only thing that I did very intentionally was these sort of rolls like this. Basically, the rim will play, and then directly after, it will play like in a roll. That just adds like a very nice bounce. It's very typical to like a YEAT type beat, and essentially it's just a rim that's pitched down a little bit. Normally it would play in the C5, but we played it in the G sharp 4. And then lastly, guys, we just have this snap. Yeah, there's really not much to say there. Now that we have all the percussion out of the way, guys, we're going to go over the 808, which is going to sound like this. Yeah, I'm going to turn that down in the editing because that just like blew my eardrums out, not going to lie. I definitely mixed this beat like way too loud. Yeah, anyways, we're basically following like a super simple progression that we sort of already laid out with our melody, which is essentially C to G sharp to A sharp. You can kind of hear it, you can visualize it as well. Other than that, it's a very simple bounce where essentially it's just C to G and then, you know, C to G, and it will end with an A in the second half. Little other variations, like, you know, the first time the C hits, it plays once. The second time it hits, it plays twice. And then the sort of like more like iconic part of this pattern is this little reverse sound here. That was something that was also included in No Handouts. I don't know how they specifically did that in the No Handouts beat. I think they might have done some like reverse automation. I don't think they actually did it this way, but if they did, more props to me, I guess. Essentially what you want to do, guys, is pick the note that you want to use. So in this instance, it's a G sharp 5. Then what you're going to do is place a regular note down and lower the velocity all the way to the bottom. Pretty simple. And then, guys, you're going to take the same note, so in this case, a G sharp 5. You're going to double-click that note, and you're going to make it a slide note right here. And, yeah, now it will do the reverse thing. What you're basically doing, guys, is taking the note that you have, and you're sliding it from no velocity to, you know, maximum velocity. There's a bunch of different ways to do an 808 roll, but I find that this is the smoothest way to do it, so that's what I did, and it sounded pretty cool. But, yeah, anyways, guys, that is the drums out of the way. I don't really have to talk about mixing because, as you guys know, I don't really do a whole lot of mixing on my drums. I just prefer to pick drum sounds that are, you know, good. They sound good. It's that simple, truly. And I just level them from there. But yeah, with that out of the way, now, guys, we can go over structuring. We're going to leave the intro till the end, which is kind of ironic. But yeah, I want to go over that last because it's kind of the most complicated part. The hook, basically, guys, is just 16 bars. Same with the verse. Same with the bridge. Wait, no, not same with the bridge. The bridge is 8 bars instead of 16. And then from there, the beat's going to repeat. It's going to be 16 bars of hook and 16 bars of verse that's going to act as an outro as well. For the hook, we're going to, you know, just do some little like variations. Like the beat is not going to start right away. It's going to start like this. Yeah, you know, it's just some nice like movement to the beat. It's pretty cool, I guess. That sign lead's not going to come until the end half of the beat. Same thing with the bell. And then the delay lead is going to only play at the beginning half of the hook. Once we move to the verse, we're going to do that same sort of intro that we did with the hook, except there's just going to be less sounds playing. The bell never plays during the verse because I just didn't want to. For the most part, other than that, it's pretty similar to the hook. For the bridge, we're basically just taking another like 8 bars of the verse and EQing it like this. Yeah, that's pretty much it there with the hooks and verses. We're also adding a riser right before the second half of the verse or like any eventful part of the beat. We're also putting a riser before the bridge and then at the end of the bridge. And, you know, same thing, second hook, same position, whatever. Also for the outro, we're going to automate some EQ and volume, just kind of like trail the beat out. And yeah, that's pretty much it for like, you know, structuring other than the intro, which I'll go over now. It's going to sound like this. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to export, you know, like the first like 8 bars of the beat or whatever. We're going to load it back into FL Studio and we are going to put it on resample. And from that point, we are going to right click on the automation. No, we're going to right click on the tempo and click create automation. And then from that point, you can kind of just do whatever you want. I just dragged it all the way to the bottom pretty much. With resample on, basically what it will do is stretch this sample accordingly. And with resample, it will sort of like adjust the pitch as well. So that's what gives it the cool, like, you know, low to high pitch sort of thing. Then we're also going to take an EQ that takes out all the high end. And we're going to automate that sort of off in the opposite direction of the tempo automation. And yeah, with structuring out of the way, that's going to do it for this video, guys. If you watch this video all the way through to the end, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you guys who watch my videos all the way through. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, don't. Remember to hit the subscribe button. I post videos 2 times a week on Wednesday and Friday covering underground and up-and-coming artists, challenge videos, entertainment content, and more. And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoy the video. Have a good day or night. Peace.